right, 2 lanes to keep right.
Hey friends, it is Monday, September 27, 2021. Welcome back or welcome aboard to the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet. And that is my opinion, but I'm just convinced that our future deserves our focus today. We call it Prepare to Go There because we have work to do today. We have to put in the necessary, unnoticed preparation so that way when we show up ready. And I am really looking forward to the conversation this week because it is a big deal. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but before that, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being on this extended coaching journey. I am blown away, literally, by your support, by your encouragement, and really by the way you are applying all of this stuff. And so make sure that you are keeping track. And one of the easiest, best ways to do that is by joining our email community, which is called the Future Friends. It's all about keeping the future on your front burner. And so this is our way to just enjoy the future frontier, to lean forward each and every day. And we do that by leading ourselves and staying focused on the future. See, I've learned from experience and observation that most people don't know how to lead themselves into a better future, and they don't know how to lead other people there either, even if they have a title or a vision or whatever. There's a lot of emphasis on the public side of leadership, and I'm thankful for it. But we need to balance it with just as much, if not more, emphasis on the personal side of leadership, the private side of leadership, the side that other people won't see and probably don't need to see because it's all of the interior development that makes the leader ready and sustainable for the work at hand. And so this is a video podcast about helping you lead yourself and stay focused on the future. And one of the themes that we talk about a lot is self-leadership, because I don't know what season of life you're in, but as you get older, you don't want other people to carry you along. You don't want your spouse to, be holding your hand and reminding you and nagging you and dragging you through your responsibilities. You can be a leader, and it starts with leading yourself. This is a sad but kind of chronic situation where we can, oversleep and we're rushing around and our life is privately chaotic. Maybe there's just some stuff that we wouldn't want to get blasted. And then we, roll up at the last minute and we just kind of put on the smile and we can show up in front of the team or we can show up in front of other people and look like there's more put together than there might be in reality. And that's sad, but it doesn't have to be the case. What can happen is that we can put in the work personally, privately. So when we show up ready. And I'm just going to be sincere with you and straightforward with you. Leadership is going to matter more in the future, not less. And we're going to need more leaders for the future, not fewer. And if you just look at the terrain that we're heading into, we're going to need to be solid. We're going to need to stay focused, and we're going to need to serve other people out of our margin instead of banking on other people to keep us in check or in shape. I think this is a conversation that can shake us up, but also give us a lot of hope. And I do this from a place of hope because I see so many amazing friends and leaders. You're in so many different spaces, and you inspired me. So I want to keep this conversation alive, and that's why we show up every single day, just to talk about different things that can help us with the personal side of leadership, focusing practically on the future, not drifting away from it, not escaping to some fictitious version of it, but really putting ourselves in the workshop and doing the work, working on ourselves, and which is really just a creative process of humility and realizing that we have to live worthy of our calling. And out of that, I believe we're going to be able to just make the things that are so aspirational more actionable. We're going to be living out those amazing dreams and callings that are in us and on us. So, tactical action matters. Now, if this resonates with you, like I mentioned, I want you to join the email community once a week. On Fridays, I send out an email. It's a bundle of all of the coaching content at once. And it works out really well because now I'm kind of sharing it with themes or series in mind. And so last week was all about writing as a best practice for self-leadership. It was really fun. We kind of hit it from different angles, finished out with a great conversation with my brother, who is also doing leadership, and so it was a lot of fun, and that kind of all got bundled up and given away for free to you. And it's my way of saying thank you for being on the journey. So make sure that you make your way over there. You can do that by clicking the link below or by going to peterbirchfield.com. And before I move any further, I want to just give a quick shout out to my wife, Sarah Joy. She launched her fall shop, and I'm so proud of her. And she's creative, and she's a girl boss, and she's amazing. And so, anyways, I got cold today, and I started to rep this. And then I was like, oh, it's 4:00, time to go. And I was like, I'm going to keep this on. So shout out to you, Sarah Joy. Okay, we are going to get into the topic at hand, a brand new series of conversations. It's going to go along the same vein of being intentional, being proactive. But I want to talk about how time budgeting works, why time budgeting works, and how it actually saves more than just your time. I think we all get that it's good to budget our money, but do we budget our time? You know the phrase, time is money, right? And it implies that our time is valuable. Well, it's more than that. It is irreplaceable. And yet we don't readily see how we're spending our time. And so we need a way to figure out, where are we spending our time? How can we better allocate that time so that way we're investing more of our time into the things that matter and into the things that are going to go into the future. So we're going to kind of introduce the big idea today. I'd be happy to go back and forth and answer questions, or just kind of go in whatever direction you want to take this conversation. But I'm super excited about the hands-on homework, so to speak, that we can do together this week. And so I want to kick it off with a quote. It's an OG line from Fellowship of the Ring. Tolkien was just a brilliant thinker. And so he's quoting here a conversation. This is a conversation in the book between Frodo and Gandalf. And Frodo says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." Gandalf said, "So do I. And so do all who live to see such times." Pretty interesting how Tolkien was writing in this language and with this way. Basically, Frodo's like, man, I didn't really want to see the world go this direction, and now I have to live through it. And Gandalf's like, I know, but it's all good. And he says, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. I'm going to go on a short rant, and then we're going to get to the practical side of time budgeting, because it is really helpful to count the cost up front, to assess the opportunity cost of where our time is going, and then to kind of budget for ourselves a plan. You could say a calendar, you could say a schedule, you could say some rules for your life. But living with intentionality is going to help us to go the distance and make a difference. And I know this is kind of like cooking, dinner um, with new ingredients, or kind of putting a little twist on the same thing. But I'm really convinced that we have to keep this conversation on the front burner. We have to be working on this, talking about this, and essentially learning and discerning the way forward, the way that we need to be navigating with others in mind. And so, basically, time budgeting is figuring out where you feel spent. You kind of get to the end of the day and you feel like you're letting down, and you're like, oh my goodness, I put so much into the day. And instead of just stopping at that feeling of being tired and drained and spent, you need to pause and say, where did that time go? Why do I feel spent? Where did I actually spend my time? And was it useful? Was it valuable? Was it multiplying? Because we don't want to just kind of blank, and then we've had this blur of a week, a blur of a month, a blur of a year. And that can happen because we're not being intentional about redeeming the time. I've said it before, but the default of every day is delay and decay. If you do nothing, that's where time is going. Time will go into delay and decay, but we can do something. We have a God-given creativity. We can be intentional. We can be more relational. We can make things productive. We can be constructive. We can actually create, design, influence, shape, redeem. And the onus is on us to step up. The onus is on us to have compassion, to take action, to do something with this time, and to actually cultivate it. Through values, through conversations, through action, through risk taking, not to squander our time, not to sit on the sidelines, but to really believe that there's something in us that was made to make headlines. And I want us to find some of the drains in our time budget, so that way we can collect those gains and we can reinvest them in things that are going to multiply our time, things that are going to multiply our future, things where we can actually take time and we sacrifice it in the meantime, in the sense that, maybe we don't get to do all the things that we want to do right now, but we're leaning forward and we're designing days, and we're leveraging a lifestyle that actually is multiplying year by year. And there's great examples of that. But let me get to the last slide here, because there is something more important than just saving minutes. It's not just that, oh, well, I shaved off, a few hours, so now I'm going to just go watch I'm going to go watch some more Netflix. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, automating and delegating things so that way you can kick up your feet and do nothing, and you have all this free time, and now you're doing some kind of beach lifestyle, laptop lifestyle, luxury lifestyle. I mean, maybe that's cool, but I think we were made for purpose. We were wired to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And so it's really about leveraging the time we have, the days we have to do something that matters, to do something that is going to make a difference. And the reason I know time budgeting, I'm just going to kind of put this up front. Time budgeting may feel kind of restrictive. You might say, man, Peter, this is a little bit boring. I don't need to learn time budgeting. I mean, it's kind of true with budgeting your money. We don't really want to budget our money, but it's actually super helpful. And what I want to kind of hit with is right up front, I want you to realize that it's more than just saving money or saving time. Sorry. It's more than just saving time. It's about saving your confidence to dream again, to take bigger risks in the future, to try new things. And it's about saving your credibility over time. Because if you're wasting your time and if you are basically overcommitting your time, and that's what time budgeting reveals, where we have overcommitted ourselves. Where are we overcommitted? If we attempt too much, we achieve too little. I didn't make that quote, but it needs to be heralded far and wide. If we attempt too much, we achieve too little. And time budgeting is just a practical way to see and assess, where am I overextended? Because wherever I am overcommitted, it's going to lead to being overextended and then underproducing. And we don't want to be underproducing. We want to be multiplying. We want to be fruit bearing, right? We want to be mindful and really prune off things that are not productive, not helpful, not taking us into the future, things that maybe were cool for a while, but they've phased out. And now it's time to grow up. It's time to step up in new and needed ways. And so I want you to practice, and I want to encourage you to practice counting the cost, literally the same way you would budget in dollars and dimes, where you would actually start budgeting your time in days and hours and minutes, even, because every minute matters. I want us to have mission around our time. And so there's an internal cost of wasting time, but there's an external cost of wasting time. Internally, we can lose our confidence. If we overcommit, if we become overextended, if we start underproducing, we kind of build in this self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. And we're just saying, man, I can't do anything I want. I can't get the real things done. And we actually kind of become a little bit less and less confident in our ability to go for big things, our ability to dream bigger. And it happens subtly, it happens gradually, and it's because we don't see where our time is being spent. And so we're not getting real data, we're not getting a clear picture, and now we're just kind of going off of emotions, and we're not looking at these facts in our life straight on. We're not taking ownership and saying, oh, that was a choice, that wasn't just chance, and I actually could be a part of making a change here. But I have to get involved and not just let things happen to me or for me. But I've got to get engaged and be a decision maker. Are you making decisions for yourself? Are you making decisions for your thought life? Are you making the decisions for your health? Are you making your own decisions for the way you're going to show up in a room and around your team, with your family? Are you being intentional in saying, I want to bring the best of me and not just the rest of me from yesterday or the week before or the year before? I actually want to be a contributor. I don't want to be a burden. I want to be a strength. And so there's an internal cost that we're figuring out, and we don't want to just swallow the lies that say I don't have time to do all this stuff, and all the big stuff I believe for never happened and it won't happen and I don't know what's wrong with me. And we just start living off of distorted data. And then there's an external cost. And the external cost of not being intentional, not taking ownership, not realizing that we're being encouraged to number the days, to enjoy them, to soak them up for everything they're worth, and to live with that kind of purpose. The external cost is if you are overcommitting and you're overextending yourself, you're very, very vulnerable to underproducing. And it becomes difficult to get more buy-in the next time because we're missing opportunities. And people, they're scratching their heads and they're looking at us and they're saying, I thought you said ... or you promised me ... or where were you when ... And it gets embarrassing. It gets embarrassing to keep showing up unprepared. And so time budgeting is going to be a reality check. It might kind of sting. It might feel like a bit of a sunburn, but it is so good to go through this process personally, intentionally, and proactively instead of having other people, bring this on. I'll say it this way. You can humble yourself or other people can humiliate you. And I don't know why this is just kind of coming across a little bit spicier than usual, because my 100% commitment is to be an encourager. And I want to encourage you that your best is now. Your best is in front of you. But you have to look at where your time is going. And you have to be honest and not just have some skewed view that you have more time or it's all good or things are out of your hands. And that leads us to kind of this first tactical attitude, which is realizing the difference between what is out of your control and what is in your control. Okay? There are things that are just out of your control. But equally, there are things that are in your control. And so what we don't want to do is just focus on all the things that are out of our control. We can become critical. We can become discouraged. We can feel even defeated because we're just drowning in all of this that is out of our control. And that's tough enough, but you have to give yourself grace and say, you know what? I wasn't meant to carry those burdens. I wasn't meant to do all this on my own. I'm not going to let other people throw blame and shame on me. I'm going to be confident in my calling. I'm going to just keep working on my character, and I'm going to pivot my focus to the things that are in my control. And what matters more is seeing the things that are in your control. Whenever we are feeling helpless, it's because the view of the future we have is hopeless. Whenever we think helpless, we feel helpless. Wherever we don't have hope, that area of our life is under the influence of a lie. And you can't manufacture this, but you can definitely go find you some more hope. And so we're seeing the things that are out of our control. We're saying, I'm trusting. I'm trusting the Lord with that. I'm not going to put myself in a place that I was never meant to be. I'm going to be faithful with little, and then I'll be found faithful over much. I'm going to use the little bit of time that I do have in these areas, and I'm trusting that it's going to force multiply into more time later on. So, what is in your control? Because I can promise you, whatever degree you're spending yourself on the things that are outside of your control, you are losing, draining, bleeding time on the things that you actually should be a part of. So, like, a lot of us like that conversation. Don't focus on the things that are out of your control. There are uncontrollables. You need to chill out. You need to rest. You need to slow down. You need to stop doing that. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is on the exact opposite. I mean, the exact opposite. You're getting comforted. You're being encouraged. You're being, you're being soothed. You've been too hard on yourself. And those things are out of your control. And you need to just, rest and relax a little bit. Well, you need to flip the attitude. You need to flip the conversation. You need to go to the other side of the coin and say, hey, you see all these things in your control? What are you doing? What are you doing about this? You have everything you need to get after this. There's nothing holding you back right now. You've been procrastinating. You need to own it. You need to admit it. You got this. Let's do that. I mean, you need to feel the motivation. You need to feel like game time. This is it. All this stuff that is in your control, don't be wasting your time and energy on the things not in your control. Reallocate that time and energy. Put it on the things that are in your control, because every day is a gift. Every day is a race. Let's race to run well, to finish, to be finishers. And so we're practicing that intensity and that tenacity and that resolve to be a finisher in that sphere of the things that are in our control. And I promise you, you may feel overwhelmed right now. You may feel like you don't know what your next step is. But if you just take the next best step, the next thing that you need to do, I mean, you probably go work on some hygiene for a little bit. Go cook yourself a meal. Go wash the clothes. Go call a friend. Go, do a word study. Do something. I mean, go clean up the backyard. Go work on a project. Go learn about health. Go do something. If you just focus on the things that are in your control right now, number one, you will invest your time wisely. You will actually feel more empowered. You will actually get a grip on all of the craziness and the disorder, because what you've been doing is neglecting something that you were really meant to carry. You are neglecting that. And so your life is kind of on edge. You're feeling maxed out, and you were wasting your energy thinking about the things outside of your control and neglecting your responsibility to the things and the people that are in your control. And what's amazing is if you're just faithful with the little bit that you can see, it will grow, it'll expand, it'll thrive, it'll flourish. And then you start looking out at all that other stuff and you say, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I got this. I can help others. And you shift in your thinking from hopeless to hopeful. And you shift in your actions and your behavior from helpless to helpful. If this is some gradient or some spectrum, I don't want to just get from helpless to help. I want to get from help to helpful. I want to become more helpful and even more hopeful, and looking at our time and taking it to heart, and not just daydreaming and theorizing and making all these abstractions. That is what laziness loves to do. Laziness loves to talk, and not do anything. And absolutely, we have these rhythms of rest, but it's because there's actual work being done in between. And so I just want to encourage you, your time matters, be intentional, take the onus, take ownership, and let's put in the work. All right. So, what is time budgeting? It is focusing on the things in your control. It is not obsessing over the things that are not in your control. It is the choice to avoid overcommitting because you know it can lead to overextending and underproducing. It is stress testing your own plans before they go public. Time budgeting is a personal thought pattern. It is a personal step in your planning approach that says, you know what, before I go blab what I'm about and what I can do and what I'm going to get done, let me actually stress test my own plan. Let me go stress test my own thinking and make sure that I can commit that time. Let me make sure I can commit to get that done. Because if I, give my word, if I extend my hand and put out that figurative handshake of agreement, if I put something on the calendar, if I say I'm going to do it, my yes has to be my yes, my no has to be my no. And it doesn't mean that I have to say yes to everything. It means that I have to say yes to the things that I have made a full-term commitment to. And so you do have to go through a verifying process. You have to verify your own vision. You have to verify your own ability. You have to verify where your time is going. I'll use this example. Whenever they build an airplane or the rockets or, the SpaceX stuff, whenever they're building the airplane, they don't just say, hey, we finished the last part of the airplane. Everything screwed in tight. It's got new paint on it. Let's take it to market. Let everybody on. We'll fly it right away. They don't do that, thankfully. They take it through rigorous safety testing. They want to take it through all of the hoops and the loops to make sure and double check that it will withstand the pressure. And a lot of times we kind of blow in to our weekly planning session and we're kind of haphazard and we're just kind of like scatterbrained and we're thinking of all this stuff that we quote have to do because we're overextended, we're overcommitting, we're underproducing. Why? Because if you attempt too much, you achieve too little. And we just kind of roll in. We're not really thinking straight. We're not thinking realistically. We're not actually holding ourselves accountable because there's something in us that just kind of gives ourselves a pass. We say, well, it may happen, it may not happen. No big deal. Life's crazy. People are busy, whatever. I don't care. No, you need to care. And if you can't care, then you need to stop, slow down, and figure out why. And when you stress test your plan, you're saying, anything I do, I want it to succeed. And there's a lot that's out of my control. So I better make sure the things in my control are getting due diligence. Verify yourself. Examine yourself to make sure that you have what you need to succeed. Verify your plans to make sure that your team has everything they need to succeed. And this time budgeting thing, you can do it once. Do it one time and just kind of get a good wake up call, or you might get into it. You might actually enjoy this and say, I think I'm going to do this every once in a while just to kind of, verify that things are on track. I'm going to kind of stress test and get an audit of my commitments and my activities to make sure that I can fulfill the things I commit to. I think you may or may not have this reference, but I go back to a classic story where Jesus says, hey, don't commit to build a building or a tower until you know you got all the goods. You have to size things up before you go for it. And this time budgeting is going to help us do that. So where do we get started? How do we begin with the time budgeting? Literally get a piece of paper, literally blank piece of paper, scratch piece of paper. Here's my notes from last week on journaling. Boom, I want to get the back of the paper. You can just start doing some chicken scratch. And you're doing a zero-sum time budget. You say, okay, I have 24 hours in a day. Where's it going? How long do I sleep? How long does it take to get going? How long does it take to eat? How long does it take to do the email thing and whatever? You say, well, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes. Well, then that's where you start. You have to start tracking yourself. Not all the time. I'm not talking about quantified self. I'm not talking about wasting time trying to track time, but you have to get a real pulse point. You got to get a real idea of where your time is going. And you probably know more than you think. So go off of the budget, go off of ballpark numbers at first if you have to, and really begin to budget it. And I will tell you, if you're doing this for the first time, it will be like mind-blowing. It will be eye-opening for you to realize, oh wow, I'm kind of overcommitted. I mean, just bare minimum, if you just have like a normal routine life, you're probably not thinking of all of the calendar clashes and calendar crashes that are going on. And it just happens. It happens when we are not, looking this stuff straight on. It's the same way you say, wow, I didn't realize I spend that much money on takeout. I didn't realize I spend that much money on, whatever. And just looking at where your time is going is the first step. It can be a valuable diagnostic exercise. Diagnose where your time is going. Start with one day. Literally start with a 24-hour day. Include sleep, include eating, include downtime, include your buffer time, include time that you expect for the unexpected. Literally plan for the unplanned, expect the unexpected, buffer that in. You say, well, I couldn't do a time budget because I'm putting out too many fires. You need to put on your budget putting out fires. You say, well, I just enjoy, introverting. Great. Put introverting on the time budget. Wherever you see your time being spent, you have to give an account for it. And then what's going to happen over time is you're going to get more understanding. You're going to have a little bit more awareness, and you're going to have the resolve to say, that doesn't look right. I don't like the results that I'm getting with this current behavior. So I'm going to now adjust it. I'm now going to design something different. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to pivot here and there. And now you're starting to make these course corrections. Whenever you're driving on the road, it's not big jerks on the road. That's a hazard. Big jerks on the road means something is wrong with your driving. If you're making these huge swerves, that means like you weren't paying attention and you're veering off because you're trying to catch an exit that you weren't, getting in the lane for. Safe and better driving looks like making those course corrections, those smaller adjustments on the wheel. And so with your time budget, you're doing the same thing. You're saying, okay, I feel like I'm putting in like 2 hours on this thing every week. Maybe I could shave that down to 90 minutes. Maybe I could shave that down to 60 minutes. And there are Then once you have this diagnostic of where your time is going in a 24-hour day, you flip, and now you're not just diagnosing that time, but you're designing that time. You're being intentional. You're saying, no, I really don't want to do that in the evening anymore, because I have found that if I get in that rabbit hole, if I go chase that rabbit trail, it's going to waste so much time. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. Man, I mean, you just need to be a little more discerning. Just practice some practical wisdom. Just try it. Just try noticing what is going on in the day. I hope this is helping. Now, we are going to, actually start building some time budgets, and we're going to apply time budgeting to different types of projects. There's two main ones that I want to get to, maybe three, but the first one is a big goal. A big goal. It's something that doesn't fit in the normal rhythm of your day. You just can't drop everything and go visit all 50 states. Like my brother said, he had a big goal. He wanted to go visit all 50 states by the time he hit a certain birthday. You can't just drop and do that, because the project, the goal itself, actually requires a bigger investment of time. You're gonna actually have to invest way more time than you have even in just one 24-hour period. So what do? You have to time budget, start with the end in mind, reverse engineer it, and begin to break it down and figure out, how do I strategize and structure this goal in a way that it actually fits in my time budget. Some of you are literally in calendar debt. You're in debt. Your calendar is in debt because you are overcommitted. You have committed yourself to too many things and too many people. And if you added up how much time you have already agreed to spend either on yourself or other people or other responsibilities or other obligations, it exceeds 24 hours a day. I don't know where you are. Maybe you've overcommitted yourself by 30 hours, 35 hours, 50 hours just in a 24-hour period. Or maybe there are so many projects stacked up on you and you feel buried. You feel totally buried by all this stuff, and you don't realize what's going on because you haven't quantified it. You haven't gotten clear on it, so you can't negotiate a better way forward. You can't have a conversation with people because it's still not externalized from you. You've been personalizing it. You've been just like loathing. You've been just under it the whole time. And we're going to give you a practical tool to get out of that hole, to get from under, get away from that pile of unrealistic obligations. Maybe it's things you've done to yourself. I'm not saying that in a negative sense. I'm just saying maybe you didn't realize that all this stuff that you're telling yourself, yeah, one day I'll get better at that. One day I'll do that. One day I'll go there. I'll visit that. I'll try that. And you're not doing the math. Like, if you just keep up the same pace, you're probably not going to get there. If you do everything the same way without changing anything, will you actually arrive at what you've been talking about? Or do you need to make some legitimate adjustments in that time budget? So the first big case study I want to help just lean into and talk about is a big goal. Because, man, your goals matter. Your goals are important. Your goals will fuel you. Your goals will really evoke the passion and the talent that your potential for. Like, you have the potential to do something great. You have the potential waiting inside of you to do something amazing, but you have to have the vision in order to see the discipline to go do it. So big goals have to be time budgeted. And then another thing is your team. I really have a passion to help teams collaborate better. I have a personal sense of just winning. Like, I feel like I'm winning if I'm helping you feel awesome about your team. If I get to help you better your team, champion your team, and if you enjoy doing great things together with your team, man, I love that. I get so fired up about that. I really want teams to get better, stronger, healthier, more united. I've experienced it in my own life, and it didn't start from the top down. It started from self-leadership level out. It's not top down, bottom up. It's inward to outward. It's an inside job that we have to personalize, and then we have to model it by example so that way other people can see the difference. They think that these team dysfunctions are normal because they've just been normalized and made normative for so long, and they have a feeling, but they don't even have the language to describe what is going on. But when they begin to see you and I model something different by example, we're not doing some sort of, bully pen thing. We're not doing some sort of megaphone heckling thing. We're not, I mean, there might be case studies for that. I don't know, but we're just leading ourselves by example. We're trying to be different and make a difference. And people wake up and they see, oh, there's a different way than this other thing. And maybe that other thing isn't as normative as I thought it was. Maybe it's actually more unhealthy and dysfunctional than I thought before. And maybe I could start modeling those healthier patterns. And I actually feel more empowered to do so. And now I don't just want to escape, but now I want to stay on board and I want to help and lead and change. That'd be cool. And time budgeting, believe it or not, it's not everything. Time budgeting is not everything, but it's a tool. It's a tool. So if you have the motivation to build, a self-leadership based lifestyle, if you have the motivation to build healthy culture in your family or your team, if you have the motivation to go do great goals, then this will be a tool to help you. And we're not just going to go into the workshop and not have tools to go with us. We have to take something with us. And these tools are going to help us. All right. We're going to talk about, tomorrow is all about calendar debt. We're going to actually look at your calendar and see how much debt your calendar is in time-wise. And then we're going to give you a plan step by step. I'm feeling like Dave Ramsey. I'm going to do a Dave Ramsey on your time. And we're going to help you get out of calendar debt, you personally. So then you can reinvest that time into the goals that matter, not the time wasters and the energy drainers, but we're going to reinvest the time that we identified. We didn't make new time. We didn't find I found the 25th hour over here. It's the same 24 hours. You have the same 24 hours. We're going to audit it. We're going to find where there's waste, and then we're going to reallocate it to find something purposeful and to accomplish something better. Something that's not going to pull you back into the past, but something that's going to propel you further, faster into your future. And you don't have to wait till tomorrow to get after it. Get a piece of paper, start with a 24-hour day, doodle, mind map, figure it out, and just say, okay, where is my time going? If I budgeted a 24-hour day, how much on sleep, how much on eating, hanging out with friends, doing life, doing projects. And then it's not just theory, it's specific. It's specifically, what are you doing this week? Well, I have 4 projects, 4 really big projects I'm thinking of. I'm doing this thing, with my wife, which is going to be wonderful. We got a house project. I'm doing this thing with our church community that's coming up this weekend. I got another thing I'm doing personally. I've got some things I'm looking forward to for this community with Prepare to Go There. How are you going to make all that happen? You've got to budget the time, and then being smart about how you're investing your time is going to leverage where that time is going, and you're going to multiply your time because you've been doing some really good um, time budgeting for a while, and now you got this good snowball effect. I really do feel this is hilarious, but it really does feel like budgeting your money. If you can get that concept of budgeting your money and living within your means, and giving your best, starting with the first fruit, so to speak, of your time, giving that to the Lord, being generous with your time to other people. And then, all these principles that apply to money, let's copy paste them, make them fit, make them work for our time. You say, Peter, why do you spend all the time doing Prepare to Go There? Why do you keep showing up day after day? Isn't that a waste of time? No, it's not. No, it's not. This is a joy to do. This is a privilege to do. This is a mission. This is a passion of mine, and I'm sowing seeds into an invisible garden today. But I really believe that this is a worthy investment of my time. And then thankfully, I feel like it's actually going to force multiply, just because I'm creating this library of lessons and ideas and whatever. And somehow, I don't know how, but somehow I'm just sending this into the future, knowing that it will be able to serve and help and multiply in other ways. We'll figure out how to repurpose it later, but we got to do something today. We got to have these conversations today. We got to help people take action today. And if you have felt stuck, if you have been hyper focused on the things out of your control, if you've been feeling more hopeless because you're thinking helpless, then here's a tool to start getting out. Here's a tool. Start time budgeting. Get a piece of paper, figure out what a 24-hour day looks like. Notice what isn't working. Identify where you've been overextended, and you're gonna already feel a lift. I promise you. You're gonna feel like, wow, I had no idea. Okay, this has been great. I really appreciate you being along for the ride today. A very, what would you say, hearty conversation. Practice counting the cost up front, and it will save you more than time. It will save you your confidence to set new goals and make big decisions about your future. And it will also save your credibility, because you're going to stress test your plans and they are going to be verified for success. And that's what a great leader does. I want to let you know that there is a free gift waiting on you. If you haven't gotten it yet, it is a fail-proof planning guide. It's going to help you get going so you can get better. Just go ahead and click the link at the bottom of this, or you can go to peterbirchfield.com and download this instantly. It'll put you in the email community, the Future Friends, and this will help you to start with some high-level questions, identify roles and goals, kind of work it into your rhythms and routines, and then it's going to take you step by step through a planning process. It's going to help you think less fragile, feel more agile about taking on the unknown, and it's helped me, and I want it to be a resource to you as well. Um, we're just getting started this week, y'all. We are literally just getting started. So give me your feedback. Let me know how this content is coming across. Let me know if I'm missing out on anything that you want to touch on. And come ready. Come ready, because we definitely have work to do. This is going to be a game-changing exercise for so many of you, because it's not just a one-time thing. It's going to become a mindset. And really what it comes down to is you're going to be leveling up in your stewardship. Your stewardship, like your stewardship meter is going to go off the charts. And that's what I want to help you with. So you are a great inspiration to me. I keep showing up every day to help you, and I want you to keep showing up to work on you too. Remember, as always, I'm with you. I'm cheering you on. You're going places, so prepare to go there.